Now, traces build off of all of this. Once we know that something's happened, we have to investigate. And the way we investigate is through a trace. Tracing is generally initiated at your application ingress. So the web server coming in, or maybe you have a load balancer coming in, and it will initiate a trace. It's low or no touch at that point. The ingress notifies the collector, hey, a trace is starting, here's the identifier, and then it propagates that identifier through other systems. And that might be through an HTTP header, it might be through a cookie, it might be through some sort of identifier that you send over the wire when you're connecting to a service, etc. Each of these different services within the system then will push what are called spans. These are individual items of information, and these are then pushed to the collector, and that collector aggregates all those spans for that given trace so that you can examine the whole thing later. Now, this can be expensive because if you think about this, you're going through and you're doing essentially observability throughout the entire stack. And so whenever it's doing that, it's pushing that information, it's taking a little bit of time in order to do that. OpenTelemetry is pretty decent about making sure that you can also batch that information. So you can collect it and then send it when the request is done. But it still takes some time. And when we look at observability tools for PHP in particular, they tend to bog down performance. So you have to be careful about how it happens. That said, the information that traces provide is outsized. With that information, you can understand everything the request touched, what path it took through your application, what services it called out to, what arguments it provided to functions and services, everything. With each span comes timings as well, so you can see exactly how long each process or span took, and it's far easier to stitch that together and calculate it from logs because it's all there visually for you to look at. Traces help you profile and debug your applications, and that allows you to identify what processes are taking longest and what conditions create errors. Eliminating those errors and performance bottlenecks leads to better security because you're eliminating common vectors for exploitation of your system. So it's really a quite fantastic thing to be introducing to your application.